listeners might not even know what Vedanta is. I wonder if you can just give a brief introduction to what is it, Advaita Vedanta.
Yeah. Vedanam antah Vedantah. That which occurs as at the end of the Vedas. Veda generally is just one thing. It's not like when you refer to a book, you don't say a book and its last chapter. You don't mention it separately.
Yeah.
The idea itself is funny.
Yeah.
But here, there is a reason to mention it separately because the Veda is distinctly divided into two portions. The bulkiest of the first portion has to do with wish fulfillment, all about how to be ethical, how to grow in maturity, how to be ethical, how to do everything following what we call dharma, a kind of a universal matrix of norms,
Yeah.
and then how to live a fulfilled life and how to connect to the truth of the universe, God, Ishvara, whatever you want to call it. And so this is the first portion of the Veda. And then while living in this, within the rubric of the first portion of the Veda, oftentimes there is a stirring for more. There is one is wondering, is this all life is about? Going to work, coming back, raising a family, and, and then getting weaker, and then next life. Is this all life is about? For
Right.
people who are ready to ask this question, then the second portion of the Veda, becomes a possibility because they are no longer wanting the run of the mill, kind of a thing. They don't want. So therefore, the second portion of the Veda talks about the truth of oneself as a non-desiring person. The first portion of the Veda basically reiterates the desires and does not question your understanding or rather misunderstanding of oneself as a desiring, wanting being. Second portion of the Veda, questions that. The first portion of the Veda allows you to fulfill the wants within certain ethical dimensions. And the second portion of the Veda says, well, are you really a wanting person? Because looks like what you want is to lose the wants. And so Vedanta is the knowledge whereby you discover yourself as that being who is free of all afflictions, sorrow, fear, strife, frustrations, in short, samsara.
So the first portion of the Veda is trying to fulfill these wants and
Yeah.
trying to give it. But the second
Yes.
part of the Veda is the Vedanta questions that itself, that we are a wanting person.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
It knocks off the notion that one is a desiring person, that one is a wanting person, one is an unfulfilled person. The first portion of the Veda just, helps you cross what is called the ocean of samsara and helps you to be within the ethical, ways as you are fulfilling the desires. The second portion of the Veda is very radical. It is called Vedanta. It is extremely radical because it makes the ocean itself disappear into an ocean. So what you consider the ocean of desire, ocean of samsara, is actually a notion of samsara.
Okay. Yeah. And so you mentioned this transition from someone who might be interested in living an ethical life and fulfilling desires to wanting to know more about the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could you maybe just tell me a little bit more about about what do you feel like leads to that transition within one person to then seek out the truth?
Usually lots of disappointments because of, because it's not easy to fulfill one desire, let go, let alone the litany of desires that one has.
Yeah.
It's not easy to fulfill even one desires because you can only control, one can only control, as you know, the hidden variable, the known variables. Like you can say, okay, I have a job interview. It is at 9 a.m. And so I keep the alarm clock, I wake up early, I
Mhm.
prepare, I Google all the people who are going to interview me, and I know much, I know about the company. I can control all this.
Mhm.
What I
Mhm.
cannot control are the hidden variables. The car doesn't start, or or somebody else has already gone earlier. They have already an insider there. They are just advertised the job for the sake of it, and so the insider they have already liked. So your interview is just for the sake of fulfilling the government regulations. So many reasons could be there. So
Mhm.
this is what is called prarabdha, difficult obstacles in the way of oneself gaining something. So, this kind of disappointments happen at every corner. There is a
Mhm.
disappointment
Mhm.
waiting to say boo. And then each
Yeah.
time, even when it's not Halloween, and so each time when you go and get disappointed, then the futility of working so hard and putting so much effort
Mm.
to gain something that doesn't seem to be in your hands dawns on there is an inner dawning of the futility of a very important a very important point, the so-called connection between action and the results of action. So the
Mm.
results of action come, but they don't seem to have anything to do with the actions at all. And
Mhm.
as the Bhagavad Gita says, the actions are in your hands, but not the results. And so, when one discovers that, the futility of the action becomes very clear. And then one starts to think, is this all that I am? Why do I yearn to be whole when it may not be a possibility? So, if I'm yearning to be whole, there must be a possibility. If I'm already what I seek, I need to discover that. And that is how one progresses slowly. The root is disappointment, disenchantment, disillusionment, and some friend leaves you, and then some things you wanted don't work out. Or if you're spiritually oriented, you go and choose the wrong guru, and wrong
Mhm.
guru means
Mhm.
a guru that has taken a vow of silence. And this is
Right.
they may be very what should I say, enlightened,
Yeah.
but they refuse to teach. So what are you going to do? I mean, it's wonderful to sit with them and serve them and be with them, but if they
Mhm.
don't open their mouth, and if the knowledge is something that is conveyed in the form of words of Vedanta, then one is in a little bit of a pickle, because the heart is given away to this guru, and then one is wondering what to do. So these
Mm.
are the ways in which the hidden variables come and pounce. So therefore, over time, with proper discrimination, one
Mhm.
learns that my actions are not giving the desired results. Perhaps the answer is somewhere else. And
Mm.
therefore, one is waiting at the airport, and usually there are shops, paperback Vedanta,
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
you know, autobiography of a yogi,
Uh-huh.
and things
Uh-huh.
like that, which are easy to read and which are so inspiring. And Vivekananda, Swami Vivekananda, all these things.
Mm.
And so, with that, one gains some kind of what is in Sanskrit called apata jnanam, a kind
Mm.
of a sudden and so a kind of a smattering of this knowledge, which really opens the heart to the possibility that perhaps I was wrong all this time. Perhaps the answer is not outside. Perhaps it is centered on this I that
Mm.
I have to know.
So this disenchantment really
Yeah,
kicks off this questioning
absolutely.
of
Disappointment, not
mm.
getting your way, disenchantment is very, very useful. In fact,
Mm.
those are your first teachers.
Yeah, very interesting.